Good evening, traders, and welcome to the PL Capital Market Review. I'm your host, Paul. In this video, we're going to look at the S&P, Nasdaq, Russell, AMD, and Nvidia. So let's start. All right, we're going to start with the upcoming economic calendar. And as far as data points go, this will be a very quiet week. Monday and Tuesday, you have some housing data on Monday, and then building permits on Tuesday, and housing starts. So not big mover there. The big day will be Wednesday, FOMC. So everything obviously will be revolving around that day. All the volatility will happen on that day. Expectation obviously is that they don't cut. I think there's only like a 1% chance that they would cut. So it won't actually be the interest rate decision, but it'll be the press conference that the market just goes haywire for 30 minutes or an hour. And it all hinge on rhetoric of Powell, if he gives any indication of when the rate cuts are going to happen, if they're going to even happen, given that the CPI and PPI kind of bumped up a little bit. I could see him kind of being more cautious and maybe not as friendly to the market as before, where he was alluding to that, rates will definitely be coming. Now he might be more, going to have to wait and see still. So it'll be interesting to see how the market responds and what he has to say. Thursday, got Philly Fed and some PMI data coming out. Also some existing home sales. And Friday, just some Fed speakers. So, yeah, the data points are pretty light. It'll just be Wednesday, the big day. All right, let's move on to the chart. Going to start with the S&P. This is the futures contract. And in my last video, I was wondering if this 5-wave move up would correct for one more up to finish that 5th wave. But I'm leaning now, given the size of this correction, it just doesn't fit for this wave to correct that big for just one more up. I was really expecting them to just kind of come down to like about there and then come up. So I think the 5th wave is in on the S&P, because I don't think that this correction coming down is even finished yet. And I think what we have is an A and a B. And now I think they're coming down in an ending diagonal. And I think this is 1, and that's 2. And I don't even think the 3rd wave is in yet. There are 3 waves, very quick 3 waves. But then there's like a little 3-wave right there. So I could see them coming down one more time into this area that I have. So 5164 all the way down to 5149. That'll be 3. Then they'll go up for 4, and then they'll come down for 5. And this 5th wave is going to be getting really close to this invalidation point, meaning that if they break 5124, they won't be going back up to 52, 57. I mean, eventually they will someday, but then that confirms that the 5th wave is complete if they break 5124. So that's why I'm leaning towards that the 5th wave is in, because when this 5th wave comes down, I mean, they could stop short, just short of it, just give a 1, 2, 3. But I don't think that this is going to be the ABC and then they go back up and break the top. I think what's going to happen is they're going to give that look, and then they will give a pretty big correction up. It might even be real way up there. But I think that this is just going to be like A or 1, and then they'll be coming up here for 2, and then reversing it down. We'll have to wait and see what the pattern is. But, I think Monday they'll probably finish this third wave and then bounce up for 4 and then come down for 5. Who knows? Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know. And then I think they'll give the big bounce, but then it's going to sell off. So I'm leaning towards that on the S&P. Now, so I feel like even if they come down and do they break 51.24, I still think that there's going to be a big correction up. And the reason I feel that is because of when we look at the Nasdaq, you'll see. So more down on the S&P, and 51.24, I don't even think it really matters if they break it or not. Either way, when this fifth wave comes down, you will get a big bounce. So regardless of if they break it or not, it doesn't matter. You will get a big bounce coming up, because we're going to look at the Nasdaq now, and this, let me move that off. This is creating an ending diagonal on the Nasdaq. And last week I was wondering if that was 3 and that was 4, and then they were going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, they came in, they broke. Let me mark it here. This low right there, they broke that today. So that confirms what I was kind of leaning towards, that on the Nasdaq, that was just the A wave, the B wave, and then a 5 wave ending diagonal for the third wave. And now we've got A, B, and then just like the S&P, they're doing an ending diagonal. And so we've had 1, we've had 2, we've had 3, we've had 4, and this fifth wave I don't think is done. So they hit 1806. I think they got to come down one more time to complete 5 waves. And so that'll be ABC, and I think that's going to be the 4th wave. Okay? And so I think the Nasdaq will give us that look, and then it will come all the way up and break its top, 18,691, one more time for that 5th wave. And so because I see the Nasdaq having that one more up move, that's why I think the S&P will have a deep correction upwards, because obviously when the Nasdaq is going up this much, the S&P will too. So, but I don't think the S&P will break its top, but I do believe the Nasdaq will. That's really the most logical thing that I see, that this is creating an ending diagonal. 1, this is, where's my 2? Over here. 2, 3, 4, and then we got to go up for 5. So I'm leaning towards up next week for the Nasdaq, and you get the correction for the S&P, but not to break its top. And when we go on to the Russell, now the Russell, it kind of broke through this zone that I thought would hold, because I was wondering if they're going to make a running flat here and be giving us this look, because I thought it was going to be this 5 wave, this 5 wave move up. I thought that was just going to be A, B, I'll go back up, break it for C, and then a sharp sell off for this running flat. But this correction is getting a little bit deeper, just a little bit than I thought. So there are 3 waves. It's pretty clear to see that much. So that could be it, and they will go up and break the top one more time. But if this only like does a 3 wave correct, and then they come and they break that low again, I don't think that if they break that 2017, then I don't think that the Russell will be going up in my running flat format. I think what probably be happening then is this will just be A, B, C, and then they'll be giving a bigger A, B, C before they eventually go up. So if you're trading the Russell, I think this 2017 has to hold and pretty much has to go and break the top from where it is right now. That would make the most sense if they're going to do this running flat. If they, like I said, if they just give a little correction up and then reverse down, then I think 2115 is going to hold for a while, and then there's going to be a bigger correction happening. Okay, so let's look at AMD. All right, so it's still selling off. So like I said in the last couple videos, I think this fifth wave for AMD is in, and now we're going to get a very big correction. Now, can't really confirm that the fifth wave is complete until 161 gets broken. And so far, it looks like there's just like a little three wave down. So, I mean, there is a possibility then that this is just the first wave of the fifth wave, and this is a deep correction for 2, and then they'll go up for a 3, 4, and a 5. That's not my base case. I think you got a 3 wave down to here, and you'll probably get, just like the S&P, I think you'll get a 3 wave correction up, and then it'll sell off. So I'd be cautious with AMD. I think a bigger correction could be underway, and you'll be able to buy it lower. I mean, if you're extremely bullish, that has to be your outlook, that this is just the first wave and this is 2, and then they'll be going up to break it in 3, 4, and 5 to finish the fifth wave. So kind of right in the middle here, and that's a tough call. I guess if you maybe put on a small position here, knowing that if it does break that 4 low, that there's going to be a bigger correction, then you can add lower, down lower. That might be a way to play it. All right, and then Nvidia. So I still think Nvidia has to go up. Now I was wondering last week, if this was going to be a running flat here, but this wave actually came right into that zone that I had last week, that green zone, but it only came down in 3 waves, so that's not a running flat. So the only pattern that I see for Nvidia to keep going up is that they're doing an ending diagonal for the fifth wave, and so 973 was 1, and then you got this 3 wave, and that would be 2, or maybe that's just A, and then that'll be B, and then they'll come down one more time for 2, and then they would go up in 3 ways for 3, and then you get a 4 and then a 5. That's the only pattern. So obviously, if they break 662, then we know that this fifth wave is complete, and then Nvidia is going to be given a really big correction. So it's a little tricky to be trading Nvidia right up here. You have to be extremely bullish to be buying, and I think it'd be just like AMD. Like maybe if they come back down one more time, and then you're thinking that was 1 and this is 2, and then you would get the bounce up for 3, 4, and 5. That might be one way to play it. You could put on a little small position here around 818 to play it up for 3, 4, and 5. But yeah, that's the only pattern that I see for Nvidia. That if it goes up to break 973, it's going to be in an ending diagonal for this fifth wave, Otherwise, this fifth wave could have completed. Like I said last week, I don't think that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I don't know. I'd be shocked that that's how this ends. So I still see more up for Nvidia. But you just got to be careful. You either have to, either trade with a stop loss here if you're going to put on a decent sized position up here, or just do a small position knowing that it might be coming down under 662. All right, that's what I see on the markets. Hope it helps. Thanks for your likes and support. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.